All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Good evening to you all. Good afternoon for some of you, and good early morning to some listening right now. You are now tuned in to Pettynomics. Welcome to the show. I am your host, PTE, and you're now watching Pettynomics. Have to remember what channel I'm on, but I'm always PTE no matter what channel I'm on. So, welcome to Pettynomics. It's good to have you all. Welcome to everyone who's already in the chat. Thank you for letting me know about the ads. I'm trying to catch them red-handed. So, anytime you see an ad on Pettynomics before we hit 1,000 subs, please let me know. You can just leave it in a comment on that video, and that would be fantastic. And if you are so inclined, tell me which advertiser it was as well. Like, how dare you you put the stamp of approval on my content by running ads on it, but you don't pay me for it? Like, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly in my book. So I'm working on figuring out how we're going to remedy that. But welcome, everybody. It's so good to have you all. So in more YouTube news, I got in trouble on a deeper PTE. So I got my hands swatted, and I am in timeout for a whole week on that channel. And that channel earned a strike, which I don't think strikes go away. I think they stay. So that should let you know I'm doing something right over there. And someone emailed me, I got to write you back, but they're like, wow, I'm surprised it took this long. Me too. I'm surprised it took this long too. But you know what? I said, I am just going to speak, and I'm going to speak freely until I can't speak anymore. So, and on top of that, I have backups to everything. I have backups to the backups. So we have the content. So I'm not particularly worried about that. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're going to be covering your favorite mayor, New York City's. Oh, Lord, I get him so confused. He's the mayor of New York City, not New York State. Hochul is New York State. She's the governor. And anyone who's more familiar, please correct me, but we're going to talk about Mayor Eric Adams and this very, very strange positioning that he continues to put out there into the media and into the general public. We're going to talk about that today on the show. And this was a show that I was actually thinking of doing a few weeks ago for this very reason. But then I said, I'm just going to leave it alone, whatever. And that happens sometimes. I'll get a topic, then I think about it a little bit, and then I decide to leave it alone for whatever reason. But he recently came out again with the same sentiment. And oh, yeah, please do that. It says, yes, I see the ads on the previous videos. I will let you know, take pics and email you. Thank you so much. Because they're literally just making money off my content, but not giving me a single dime until I hit certain criteria. Anyway, we're going to talk about him momentarily. We're going to talk about what he said, and I'm going to pick it apart, is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick it apart because I think it's actually really important in understanding several different things. Like there's several different things going on with this mayor, with his mindset, and all of that. So we're going to talk about all of that. But as I do on my suspended channel, A Deeper PTE, I'd like to present you with a thought experiment before we begin. And I'm going to ask you this now, and I'm also going to ask you at the end of the show if I remember. Hopefully, I will remember to ask you again. But I'm going to ask you now, and I want to ask you again at the end. If I cook at home, bring my food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? If I cook at home, bring my food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? So that's an open question to all of you, and one that we will revisit again at the show. The chat says he is not our favorite mayor. He is a corrupt, pro-crooked cop asshole. This is coming from a New Yorker. I will take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. And he already strikes me as problematic for reasons that I don't think other people consider when they consider problematic people. And I will explain to you my position here in a minute, why he struck me as problematic shortly after saying what he said. But it just made me go, and I think I said this on a news break on Permission to Exist. I said, I said, I said, y'all are going to have some problems out of this one. And it was all based on the way he handled this certain situation that we're going to take a look at. So again, there's your thought experiment on the screen. If I cook at home, bring my own food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? So that is the question. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and welcome to everyone in the chat. Okay, so let's take a look at this together. So this all started, Yahoo loves to just take you to the next article. This all started back in early January. So some of you may remember back in early January where he came out and made the statement that he needs his low skill workers. Wait, hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to paraphrase. I messed it up. He came out back in January and said, essentially that you all need to go to work because low skill workers need you to come in and they don't have the academic background to do anything else basically. And a lot of people took issue with his comments, and rightfully so, because of what was implied. So let's read about it first. This is the article. It's on yahoo.com. Doing my articles just a little bit differently lately. I realized part of the reason I can't read is because these articles are written very poorly. So I'm printing them out, rearranging the words just a little bit to make them easier to read. So I'm not going to be scrolling. But this is the article published January 5th, 2022. New York Mayor Adams reacts to criticisms over comments about low-skill workers and their academic background. The newly inducted mayor of New York City is catching flack for recent comments made about the city's low skilled workers during the pandemic. At a press conference at Brooklyn Borough Hall Monday, held in response to the Omicron variant of COVID 19 in the metropolis, Mayor Eric Adams called for big banks to move up their current timelines to return to in office work. Currently, staffers at JP Morgan and Citigroup are starting to work remotely due to the rising number of CV cases. Adams urged larger businesses, such as those, to encourage their employees to come into their New York offices at least a few days a week in order to support those toiling at smaller operations that rely on commuters. Let me see if we can at least get a picture. There we go. So y'all know who we're talking about. Quote, I don't know if my businesses are sharing with their employees that you are part of the ecosystem of this city, end quote, Adams told those assembled. Quote, my low skill workers, my cooks, my dishwashers, my messengers, my shoe shine people, those that work in Dunkin' Donuts, they don't have the academic skills to sit in the corner office. They need this. That accountant, I need him to go to the cleaners. I need him to go down to Dunkin' Donuts. I need him to go to the restaurant. I need him to bring in the business traveling. And if we say that, well, I don't have to go in, I'm still getting my salary, then you are not helping those New Yorkers who need us to come in. The mayor's comments continue to earn him criticism on Twitter. One user pointed out the irony of the shift in language when discussing frontline workers during the 2-year pandemic. In 2020, they were essential workers. In 2022, they are low skilled workers. Hopes were shared by another that the new mayor learns from his choice of words. Low skilled workers is such a demeaning thing to say about people who work in essential jobs such as food service, retail, delivery, hospitality, etc. These are some of the hardest working people and they get paid low wages. I hope Eric Adams never says that about anyone again. On Wednesday, Adams, a retired NYPD police captain, appeared on CBS This Morning, where he addressed the criticism against him by attempting to clarify his comments. He said the dishwashers, the workers in New York to whom he was referring, cannot work remotely. The goal is we need to open the city so low-wage employees are able to survive. Adams said that he too had worked in a restaurant, and if people hadn't come in, he would not have been able to do his job. Now, this was the first time I had a clue that this man may have a few character issues when he said this, quote, people are going to try and take everything I say and distort it. But I'm focused, I'm disciplined, and I'm grinding to bring my city back, end quote, okay? So that was this article. It was published in the Griot, and then Yahoo republished it. But that was my first hint that something was a little bit off with this man, because people were criticizing what he said. And like a true narcissist, I don't know for sure if he's a narc yet, but like a true narc, he says, oh, people are always going to have a problem with what I say. People are always going to take what I say and distort it. But there was absolutely nothing distorted about what he said. And as a matter of fact, I think I have the audio. Here, let's do this. I'm going to put this up and I'm going to play the audio for this so you can actually hear it. Nobody distorted what he said. So let's take a listen to the audio. Oh my God, Yahoo behaves so strangely as a website. Here we go. Play. No, maybe not. It keeps taking me to a different website. How very weird. Let's try going straight to Twitter. Welcome everybody in the chat. Let's see if I can actually just get it to play. Here we go. All right.
If my businesses are sharing with their employees. You are part of the ecosystem of this city. My low skilled workers, my cooks, my dishwashers, my messengers, my shoe shine people, those who work in Dunkin' Donuts, they don't have the academic skills to sit in the corner office. They need this. We are in this together. And we should be saying to our, if my
Okay.
businesses are sharing.
So you heard there that he actually did say it out of his own mouth. Nobody distorted what he said. And I think a lot of people just took issue overall with the what was implied. Not only what was implied, but oh man, okay. There's so much. Y'all gonna have some problems out of this man, okay? I'm telling you that right now. So first, let's talk about the low skill worker part. I think a lot of people took a lot of offense to this, and rightfully so, because just like this tweet that was highlighted in the article, in 2020 they were essential workers. Now they're low skill workers. And actually in this article, they go to try to say that what he meant was low wages. Perhaps that is in this other article. Let me see. I think it's higher up. Here it is right here. So I didn't include this in the article I printed out because I don't believe in trying to rewire your brain. But they actually put it right here. Says the newly inducted mayor of New York City is catching flack for recent comments made about the city's low skilled workers during the pandemic, but he meant low wage. How are you just going? See how Yahoo keeps taking me to a different article? Isn't that weird? I didn't do that. I have to keep clicking back. How are you just going to assert what the man meant? So you're just going to say he meant low wage, but he said low skill. That's what he said though. And when he was challenged on that point, he doubled down and basically said that people are going to try to take everything I say and distort it. So, in other words, anytime you hear criticism about me, just know it's just people taking my words and distorting them, beyond what I meant. So, we're supposed to always know what he meant. Exactly. The chat says, see, he doesn't know whether these people have academic skills. Some of them are working through college with those jobs. Exactly. And that's the other half of it. Now, he is, I think, 61. Let me double check. He is a boomer. And the reason that matters is because we were just talking about that on a deeper PTE. How old is Eric Adams? And this would be yeah, he's 61 years old. So this would be an example of that boomer mindset, the boomer mindset, which is if you're working at these places, you must be low skill. Not that you might be young, you might be young, you might be in college, maybe you just moved to the city and you decided to just take up anything that would hire you temporarily. Some of these people are in these roles temporarily. Some people go back to work when they retire because they're bored. They don't have anything else to do. But without regard to how they got there, to imply that they're there because they have no skills is very, very insulting. Very insulting when a lot of people in those corner offices couldn't do what these folks do every single day. They honestly couldn't. From opening the store to getting it stocked and supplied to ringing people up, cleaning all that inventory, all the logistics involved, they couldn't do it. They would crack in a day. So it was almost like, come on, don't you feel sorry for these people? They're not you and they can't ever be you. It's kind of what was felt. It's not what he said, but that's what was felt. They're not you and they can't ever be you. So come on out and give them a hand type situation, almost like they're charity cases also. No sound. Does everyone have sound? So it's almost like they're charity cases also. And we're also forgetting another huge population, especially in New York. In New York, there are a lot of immigrants, people who are coming to the country for the first time. So if someone's coming to the country for the first time and they're trying to build themselves up and make themselves better and try to live out this so-called American dream, then how dare you insult them when they're trying to put their lives back together? So there was a lot of weight in what he said. And he even got into it with AOC, I believe, but we're not here to talk about her. So so there's that. There's the whole low skill part of the conversation. But then there's the other part of the conversation, which is essentially why we're here today for this show. And I almost titled this live stream, I Need You to Survive. But I didn't think y'all would get it because it's a play on a song. And I'm very aware that everybody may not know that song. Probably most of my viewers don't know that song, I Need You to Survive. So I didn't think anyone would get it. And it's meant to go both ways as well. Like it has two meanings. Like, I need you in order for me to survive. And I need you to survive so I can survive. So, like, that's how I was going to title it. If you guys think that title works, I'll change it back for this live stream. I mean, but then I changed it. I was like, they're not going to get it if I write, I need you to survive. So, anyway, that was back on January 5th. It caused up this huge stir. And that was that. And I was going to comment on it back then, but then I left it alone. But then I started seeing more articles come out. Now, this is an opinion piece by someone named Michelle Caruso Cabrera. By the way, happy February 22nd, 2022, 2222. I was supposed to get married today. I thought it would be a cool wedding date, but I didn't work hard enough to secure a fiance in that time frame. So bummer. Today would have been a cool day to have a baby too. This would be a really, really neat birthday. But anyway, I saw this article and I thought it really highlighted how these folks are thinking about this whole entire thing when it comes to you going to work. The issue is it's a one directional expectation. So in other words, I need you to come to work so I can live, but I really don't care whether or not you live. And that is the heart of the problem, really. It's a one directional expectation. Come, give me your money so I live, but I don't really care about you or whether or not you live. So this makes me think of corporate cults heavy. Check out the Corporate Cults Marathon on Permission to Exist, and I will link it after the show is over. But let's take a look at this. This is written by someone named Michelle Caruso Cabrera. CEOs, bring your employees back to the office. New York City's neediest depend on it. In the spirit of BlackRock CEO Larry Fink's much read annual letter to his fellow chief executives, here's mine. Dear CEO, pause. Before I read this, I want you to pay attention to how much snark is in the letter. How snarky and kind of like high-minded and almost nasty. There's a nasty undertone to this letter, and I want you all to pay attention to it as I read it to you, okay? Let me delete this little bot. Boom, bot gone. Why don't you bots ever send super chats, man? That would be dope. If all these little bots that come put these weird websites in the chat would send a super chat with it. Oh, you can't do that on this channel, but they don't do it on the monetized channels either. You bots, send a super chat. Anyway, pay attention to the snark. Dear CEO, it's time for your employees to come back to the office, even if it's just a few days a week. If they don't, the consequences will be dire for the rest of the city. Take the Bronx as the perfect example. While national unemployment has gotten below 4%, it's still above 11% in the Bronx. That's an improvement from the worst of the pandemic, when the country's unemployment rate was the highest in the country, a stunning 25%. But Federal Reserve data show almost 50,000 Bronxites still struggling to find work. What does Bronx unemployment have to do with Manhattan office workers? Just a look at a subway map and follow the 4, 5, 6 lines as they move northward, as fanning out like a river deep into the Bronx. Many of our hotel cleaners, kitchen workers, delivery drivers, Nail technicians, shoe shiners, etc., ride those lines to get to their midtown jobs. Research firm Deep Macro found the number of people exiting those stations in December 2021 had declined by more than two-thirds from December 2019. That's because three-quarters of Midtown's roughly 1 million office workers are staying home. That's a lot of shoes not shined, nails not manicured, coffees not poured, packages not messengered, and lunches not served. So, our neighbors who once worked in those service jobs are at home too, though not working there like the laptop class. Mayor Eric Adams is right to be worried about my cooks, my dishwashers, my messengers, my shoe shine people, those who work at Dunkin' Donuts. If the office occupancy rate stays as low as the 28% recently reported, New York City's much needed recovery won't happen. Tens of thousands of jobs related to office employment will be lost. City and state revenues will decline. Most important, as the mayor knows firsthand, the poorest New Yorkers will suffer the most. In the Bronx, 20% of the population have a college degree. In Manhattan, 60% do. I'm the first to agree that a college degree is highly overrated, but that doesn't make untrue a basic fact. If you have a college degree, you're more likely to have a desk job, which allows you to work from home. If you don't, you're less likely to have a desk job and can't work from home. Our new mayor is focused on what matters, jobs and safety. He knows your employees need to feel safe getting to their jobs, and he has committed to doing their part. Here's my recommendation to you, New York City business leaders. Take the 4 or the D up to the Bronx and look your fellow New Yorkers in the eyes. Bring your head of human resources. I'd be glad to arrange a tour. And then I actually cut out the last line, but I'm going to include it. In fact, let's start on 181st Street, where the devastating fire that killed 17 of our neighbors occurred. Heads up, it's going to look different from where your college educated employees are working on their laptops from their dedicated home offices. Like, wow. Like, okay. Like, dang. Okay. There's just so much, man. There's so much I want to say about this. So, this article, again, was written by someone named Michelle Caruso Cabrera, published January 19th, 2022. So, this came out after the mayor made his comments. And essentially, what this person is saying is that there are communities in New York that are underserved. And as a result of being underserved, they're reliant upon all these little jobs that exist out near the offices where all the office employees go in every day for work, or where they used to anyway. And now, as a result of these people not going in to work, they're like dying. And the implication is you are killing them. You're killing them. Okay. So before I comment, here's what brought us here today. Again, he came out again and said it again, y'all, on February 17th, 2022. Mayor Eric Adams calls out New York City workers to return to offices. So, once again, on Thursday, Mayor Eric Adams called for people to revive the state's economy by getting back to work. That's a very boomer mindset, too, by the way. Get back to work. That's very boomer. And said he was tired of hearing excuses about the COVID-19 pandemic. So, once again, that's very boomer as well. And if you want more reference, check out Boomer Obstinance on A Deeper PTE. Tired of hearing excuses about the pandemic. Quote, New Yorkers, it's time to get back to work. You can't tell me you're afraid of COVID on Monday and I see you in a nightclub on Sunday. End quote. Adams said that white collar workers who continued working from home were hurting service oriented businesses that rely on a steady stream of customers. That accountant that's not in his office space is not going to the cleaners. It's not going to the restaurant. It's not allowing the cooks, the waiters, the dishwashers to make a living. Adams also appealed to New Yorkers' civic pride, saying, It's time to open our state and our city and show the country the resiliency of who we are. So they're just okay. All right, I have notes. So now that I've shared those three articles with you, I'm going to bring you back to this thought right here. If I cook at home, bring my food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? That is the question. And it's an interesting question because on the surface, I know they think that they're 100% justified in their position. But here's the question: who told them that that was going to work forever? Who told him, or anyone really, that any business that you open is destined to work forever, bound to last forever? And if it starts to go under, well, it's you, the customer's fault that the business is going under. So if I open up a little smoothie shop on 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 the corner, and the first year or two I'm doing really, really well, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is going to be my future. This is my destiny. A smoothie shop owner. This is how I pay my bills, everything, selling smoothies. Then one day, everyone starts making smoothies at home. One day, they decide that, they like making smoothies on their own and buying their own ingredients and making them at home. Well, do I then stand on the corner yelling at people as they go by saying, you're killing me. You're killing me for not coming into my smoothie shop? Like, it was a risk from day one. It was never a guarantee. And I find this attitude so very strange. This attitude that because I built it, you better come. Because I made it, you have to use it. Because I did it, it's great. Because this is how I make a living, you can't let me die. And here's the thing: nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to run out. Nobody wants to have not enough. But it's almost like the idea is my not enough is worse than your not enough. And therefore, if I'm dying, it's your fault because you're not giving me enough. But I never promised you that I was going to give you anything in the first place. Never. Yeah, it's all based on a risk. Chat says, but it was based on a risk. The whole thing is a risk. It's risky. Right. And then there's other issues playing into it. For example, chat says, how about he makes the subways safe to ride? So, in addition to all these other multi layered issues, he's ignoring the fact that a lot of people are just scared to walk around the city. Like, they're just afraid to walk around the city in certain places because it's not safe. So, I want y'all to keep dwelling on this question. If I cook at home, bring my own food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? Here's another one. If I cut my own hair, am I killing the barbershops? If I do my own hair, am I killing the beauticians and the cosmetologists? If I don't get my nails done, am I killing the nail shops? So I guess what I'm asking is, how much of me do you expect for me to give in order to keep everyone alive? Because there's a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of businesses out there. And there's also a lot of businesses I don't go to, like either never been or haven't been in years. So am I killing the economy because I don't go spend my money with these businesses? It's a sincere question. And then if so, how much of my own personal economy am I supposed to kill in order to keep you alive? So I want you to think about that. Now, here's something else I want you to dwell on as we move through this topic. So he's basically saying you not coming in is not allowing the cooks, the waiters, the dishwashers, the servers, the shoe shiners, the dry clean people, and everybody in between, that your commute to work, you're killing them, basically, is what he's saying. But check this out. I want to show you this. Now, who I'm sharing this from is not an implicit endorsement. It's not. It's just the first and the best example that I could find. Okay. Now, I know some of y'all like Dave Ramsey. I have mixed feelings on this man. And the more I learn about him, and in particular, the more I learn about how he runs his business, it's a huge turnoff. Okay. Big, big, big boomer narc. But we're not actually here to talk about that. What I'd like to show you is financial gurus. Anytime that they start giving you advice on getting your life, your financial life in order, there's a couple of things that they always tell you to do first as you begin putting your financial life back in order. And I'm going to share with you, not this entire list, I'll read them all, the bolded part, but there's a couple of these that I want to share with you. Number one, say goodbye to debt. Number two, cut down on your grocery budget. Okay. So, not that one. Let's keep going. Number three, cancel. Well, actually, I could do this differently. So, number one, say goodbye to debt. So, if you're saying goodbye to debt, that means you're saying goodbye to credit cards and loans and things like that. So, that means by the mayor of New York's logic, you're killing the banks and the credit card industry when you do that. Number two, cut down on your grocery budget. So, you cutting down on your grocery budget means you're killing the grocery stores and the farmers and the supply chain as a whole because you're cutting down on your grocery budget. Number three, cancel automatic subscriptions and memberships. So that means that you're killing Netflix, you're killing Hulu, you're killing Spotify, you're killing your gym, you're killing Amazon. Anytime you cut off these subscription services and memberships, you are killing the business that relies upon them. What's wrong with you? Number four, buy generic. So by buying generic items, that means you're killing the brand name. Why would you do that? Number five, cut ties with cable. So then that means that you're killing the cable company. You're putting the cable company out of business. Number six, save money automatically. So I don't have a good counter example for that. Number seven, spend extra or unexpected income wisely. So, okay, good. Number eight, reduce energy costs. So that means you're killing the power company. You're going solar, you're turning off your lights and unplugging things that you're not using. Well, you're killing the power company. Are you like a psychopath? Unsubscribe from emails, check your insurance rates. Here's the one I really wanted you to see, though, right here. Number 11. This one and another one are the main ones I wanted to pull out from this list. Pack your lunch and eat at home. And keep in mind, this list is How to Save Money 22 Simple Tips by Dave Ramsey, who is a self proclaimed financial guru. Okay. And he's not alone. Whenever they tell you to start saving your money, these are the first things they tell you to do. Number 11, pack your lunch and eat at home. Get this, the average household spends about $3,526 on food outside of the home each year. That's $294 per month. Buying a lunch a few times a week may seem harmless in the moment, especially when your favorite restaurant is walking distance from your office, but you can save quite a bit of money just by packing a lunch. Not only that, but a lot of times you can buy a solid week's worth of groceries for the same price as two dinner meals out. Instead, prepare your food at home and watch your savings pile up month after month. But Dave, if I do that, according to Eric Adams, I'm killing the city. So if I take the advice of the financial guru, I'm in turn killing the city. So that same $25 I used to spend for lunch every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I saved that. That's $75. I put that into the grocery store, but I just took that $75 away from the cooks, the dishwashers, the servers, the bus boys and girls. So who do I owe money to? Do I owe the most money to myself or do I owe the most money to my community? Who do I owe the money to? Because to me, it's almost like they want you to sacrifice yourself. So hold on, there's one more on this list. So ask about discounts, take advantage of your retirement savings plan, lower your cell phone bill, try a spending freeze that's going to kill everybody. Your spending freeze is going to kill everybody. Do it yourself everything. So now you're killing the small business man, the handyman, the carpenters, the plumbers, the painters. Now you're killing them when you do it yourself. But here's the other one I really wanted you to see. Skip the coffee shop, number 17. Says, ouch, this one is painful. We get it, but instead of spending $5 on that daily latte, you can save money by just making your coffee at home. Listen, we're not saying you should only drink instant coffee, but even purchasing a bag of local beans from your neighborhood coffee shop and brewing it at home will save you a lot of money in the long run. So now you're killing Starbucks. So, do you guys kind of see the point that I'm trying to make? Anytime you sit down with a financial guru, among the first things they tell you to give up is your addiction to fast food or restaurant food where you eat out every day, night, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. They want you to give that up first. And then they want you to give up your coffee shops second. And they always run the math and show you how your $3 latte every single day, when you add that up times 365 days, it produces a certain dollar amount. How much is that actually? Let's see. If you buy a $3 latte every day, I think they're probably more than $3 too. $1,095. So that's $1,095 you're spending on lattes every year, and also putting into the coffee shop industry. So if you want to save money and you want to keep that $1,095, the implication that Eric Adams is making is that essentially you're kind of a bad person. Now, let's talk more through this issue. Let's talk a little bit more through this issue. So far we've reviewed the fact that he's come out now twice and said that you guys need to come back to work in New York, not because not because the pandemic is over and it's time to go back to normal life and just get things going, but because you're killing small businesses. That's the reason why. That was the rationale given. You're killing these low skill workers. So then the question, it produces several questions actually. And let's play devil's advocate. I don't agree with this statement, but let's play devil's advocate and say that they are low skill. It sounds like a problem to me. Like, it kind of sounds like he's presenting it as a problem. Like, look, we've got all these low skill people who can't do anything else, and you're killing them basically. So why does he not feel like then that would be something that he could address? Like, give them unemployment support or some sort of UBI. Now, I know a lot of people feel different ways about universal basic income, but I think that makes a pretty strong case for it, Eric, because here's the bottom line. Oh, coffee is $4. All right, so let's do that. $4 times 365, $1,460 a year on a $4 latte every day. Okay? So if they're low skill, and here's one of the main points I'm trying to make, you cannot force people to spend their money with you. You can't. You can't make it their fault either. You really can't. If I open up a donut shop and in spite of my best efforts, I can't attract customers, do I then blame the customers? And here's the thing, a lot of companies do, you guys. They really do. And I'm sure I've talked about this on Permission to Exist before at some point in time, but when things start going wrong with the bottom line, they don't look internally and they don't look within, they look externally. So they say, well, the customers just aren't, we just can't please them anymore, or the customers just want too many different things, or they'll come up with a million different excuses for why they're not doing well as a company. Or how they've contributed to maybe not having as many customers as they would like to have. Now, will there be things that are outside of our control in this life? Yes, but a lot of times we contribute heavily to our own problems. So I know for a fact, I can't rattle them off the top of my head, but I know there are restaurants in New York City that probably have waiting lists because either they're so good or they're so exclusive. I would like to think that the food is so good is the reason you have a waiting list, but that's what you want. You want to create something that's so good that people are anxiously anticipating your return, anxiously anticipating you opening for the day. They wish you were 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? A lot of the businesses that end up struggling don't want to make the changes required to truly attract customers into their establishment. I'll give you a perfect example. There are a lot of cosmetologists and hairdressers who people will travel across several states to go get their hair done by them. And I'm not kidding. They'll either hop on a plane if they can afford it, or if it's cheaper to drive, they'll hop in their car and they will drive to their hairstylist to get their hair done because they were so moved and so impacted. Oh, what a good question. I'm going to ask that in a second. They were so moved and so impacted by the work that this person did that they are willing to go through great lengths and go to great lengths to be serviced by this person again. That's what you want. You want to be the type of restaurant or business or whatever that when you close, people throw a tantrum. They're upset. They can't handle it. They don't understand what's happening, why you would ever close. They beg for you to open back up. That's what you want. But a lot of times they're not willing to do that. It's really an extremely entitled expectation of, oh, you better come spend your money with me. And in the chat, perfect question, I'm going to display it. It says, what if you don't like coffee, for example? Are you still expected to buy from them? Perfect question. That's so perfect because that really captures the heart of the argument right there. So if you don't drink coffee or you're not a coffee drinker and you walk past the coffee shop every day, by virtue of what this man is saying, it's low key your fault that the coffee shop is not doing well. So yeah, actually, based on his logic, you need to make it your business to stop by the coffee shop every day. What are you doing? Who cares that you don't drink coffee? Just go buy a coffee and just give it to someone on the street who looks like they could use some help. Like, what's wrong with you? Or, for example, like, I don't eat seafood. I'm not a seafood eater. I will eat a fried shrimp on occasion. Yes, I will. But other than that, I really don't eat seafood. So then, am I killing the seafood industry by virtue of the fact that I don't eat seafood? I don't spend my money on those things. So it's like it's so funny to me how one of the arguments you hear most often is that people don't want to work. Nobody wants to work. But all I ever hear are these businesses sitting around with their hands out, sitting around with their hands out, like sincerely looking at you with big baby doll eyes, like, save my life. Hold on one second, you guys. I need to close my windows. Okay. Brief commercial break. Okay, I'm back. I just have to close my blinds and stuff because it just goes so dark and it freaks me out. But anyway, perfect example in the chat says, I used to drive across states to get to a good veterinarian. Exactly. That's the goal. I've never been one to advocate for just pure laziness. I don't believe in laziness. I really don't. And honestly, I don't think there are a lot of people. I think there are some people, but I don't think there are a lot of people who would sit around and do nothing, even if they were being bankrolled in some way. Eventually, like, look what all these rich people do. Rich people have enough money to sit around on a yacht and do nothing, right? They really do. But what do they always end up doing? Starting another business, starting some other industry, creating some invention, opening a restaurant. So the presence of money does not typically create laziness. A lot of times it creates ingenuity and efficiency. It frees people up to try other things. So while, yeah, you would have some people sitting around like, hooray, I get paid by the city of New York to do nothing. There will be a lot of other people who'll be like, okay, great, now I can finally go to school or something, you know what I mean? Or maybe I can start my own little business, my own little LLC. Right. The chat says they are essential for the wealthy that insist on being catered to. Exactly. Exactly. So when we want to talk about laziness, who's really lazy? The person who won't brew their own coffee every morning, or the person who pulls up and really expects you to be there at 6 a.m. with a smile on your face at 6 and give them their coffee? Like, come on now. So it's really an entitled mentality. And one of the ways I phrased the question in the past, I believe on Permission to Exist, was like, dang, it just slipped my mind. I was saying it's an entitled mentality. Oh, it's almost like they say, if I build it once, then I'm expected to live forever. So because I built it, I am therefore entitled to survive. And I think that's why a lot of these companies go into the future way longer than they are supposed to. Like, I forgot what company it was I saw the other day, and I said to myself, I am really surprised you guys are still in business. I know who it was. And, no offense to any of you who enjoy their products. I really don't know very much about their products, but I saw a Merle Norman store the other day. Merle Norman. And I was like, Merle girl, I can't believe you are still in business, girl. But apparently she is. Apparently Merle's doing all right. And what is that the result of? Is that the result of multiple loans through the years to keep you afloat? Because it certainly isn't the result of the products. But then again, I don't know about Merle. Merle may have changed over the years, but they've been around for a long time, but they're not the only ones. There's lots of companies. I'm like, wow, you are still in business, huh? That's incredible. It's incredible that you're still in business. But anyway, I mean, I guess they have a right to be, but I guess I'm more of a free market type of, excuse me, person. Like, if you're not performing and if you're not doing what you need to do as a business, you're probably supposed to go out of business, probably. And then it creates another set of questions. So this was one of the first questions that I ever posed on this channel, Pettynomics. And that question was, whose job is employment? In other words, whose job is it to make sure that you have a job available to you, is what I mean. Like, of course, it's your responsibility to apply for the job, go on the interview and get the job. But what I mean is, whose responsibility is it for there to even be a job or have a job there for you? And it's a very complicated question if you think about it. And here's why the question is complicated. It's complicated because this whole entire system is voluntary, essentially. The whole system is voluntary. If I turn Permission to Exist into some sort of business one day where I can have W 2 employees and all that, That's a voluntary decision that I will have made. So then I hire you and you're doing a great job and the company is doing very well, and you make some long-term financial decisions based on your relationship with my company. You buy a house, maybe you buy a car, maybe you do some other long-term financial things based on your relationship with my company because it's been going very well. So then maybe at year 20, I decide I don't want to do this anymore. Year 20, I decide, you know what? I don't think I want to do this anymore. My question to you is, do I have the right to close the doors to the business that I opened up voluntarily in the first place? Do I have that right? Also, similarly, now that the business is open, how many jobs do I have to make available to the general public? Is that my responsibility? What if I only have one other employee? Am I hurting the economy by not having like 20, 25 job openings? Do I have to hire 25 people? So at what point am I successfully giving back to the community is what I'm saying. It's a very, very complicated situation because the whole system is voluntary, but it's also necessary. So almost every business, with the exception of the government jobs, are there voluntarily. Someone voluntarily opened up that business and it worked out well for them. But it never changes the fact that the business itself is voluntary, but also necessary. So part of the reason I would hesitate to ever open up my own company like that and have tons of employees is because of that very reason, they become dependent on you. They become dependent on you and your company succeeding and doing well. They bought a house because of you, because of the company, rather. They got married and felt safe and secure in the world because of their job with your company. They had a child or two or three because they have a good job with your company. So now that kind of makes it to where, well, now I have to stay open because now you need me to survive. Like it's just such a weird exchange that ultimately, you guys, neutralizes. So I need you to survive. You need me to survive. At some point, that neutralizes. So then, once it neutralizes, the question becomes, what do we do then? So I have another thought experiment for you. It's a different one, but something that I want you to think about. A town has 100 jobs open. A person applies to and gets rejected from all 100 jobs. What should that person do now? What exactly should that person do now? A town has 100 job openings. That person applies to all 100 and gets rejected from all 100. Now, what do they do? And I want y'all to really dwell on that because I think another big part of the issue is like it's so strange, y'all. The business owners don't feel, again, like it's a two-way street. So they tell you to get a job, get a job, get a job. But if you apply to the job and no one gives it to you, well, then now what do you do? Type situation. So this is kind of where the UBI comes in, universal basic income. And then I saw something else in the chat that said living wages for New York City, because what this question also highlights is the voluntary nature of all of this. You need a job, that's for sure, but do they have to hire you? Do these companies actually have to hire you just because you need a job? Do you see what I mean? So it's almost like the equation is going like this. I need you to come in and spend your money to keep me from going under, but I don't have to hire you and give you money because this whole thing is voluntary. Is this making any sense at all? I hope so. The point of tonight's live stream is to illustrate the fact that these businesses are very lopsided and very one sided. It's to illustrate many things, one of which is these businesses are very lopsided, very one sided, and they want you to keep them alive. But the favor is often not returned. That's one thing I want this live stream to highlight to you. Number two, I want it to highlight to you the sincerity of the entitlement and how people, in particular, the mayor of New York City, has placed all the blame and all the responsibility back on you, the citizen, and not on he himself, the government. So it presents another question. What role does the government have in all of this? Where do they come in all of this? Because you're saying your low skill workers need you. And I'm thinking, well, why don't you help make them high skill? Since the concern is them being low skill, well, then why don't you help make them high skill? But y'all don't want to do that, do you? Because making them high skill would mean they would no longer be in place to serve you. So it's such a weird, confusing matrix that really doesn't have to be this weird or confusing at all, truly. Like, here's a good way to kind of lay it all out back properly. The business owner should have known from day one that opening the business and running the business was going to be a risk, a calculated risk, but a risk nonetheless. They should have always known that there may have come a day when this was not going to work out well. And in the event that that day comes, what are they going to do? Subsequently, the employees. I preach this all the time on Permission to Exist, and I'll start preaching it over here. Anyone who, say, for example, is working at Dunkin' Donuts and relying on Dunkin' Donuts to survive for the rest of their natural lives, I think you're making a mistake. I understand why you would think that you should have job security, but if nothing has been proven to you over the past 2 years, it should be that these people cannot be trusted for job security. Like, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have a plan B. It's not the responsibility of the local office workers to bring more money into your Dunkin' Donuts. And even if they do, does that mean you're getting paid more? Probably not. You might be getting more tips, but that's about it. They're not going to share those profits with you. They're going to take all those profits home and put them in their pocket. So there's a lot of accountability missing, I think, on all sides. There's accountability missing from the businesses. There's accountability missing from the government. There's accountability missing from the employees. And I don't know. I don't know that there's any accountability missing from the office workers who won't come back. Because, I mean, that's just the type of job you have. It's almost like they're saying it's your fault you have that type of job. It's your fault that you're an office worker who can take your laptop home and work. And it's my fault. No. And it's also your fault that I work somewhere where I can't do that. So because it's your fault all this is happening, I need you to come back to the office so I don't die. Like, y'all, we can't be this dependent on one another. We should be dependent, but not like this. Like, what I'm dependent on from my fellow man is to show a little bit of courtesy in public. I show you courtesy, you show me courtesy. That's what I depend on. I depend on us to follow the most basic of rules like stop signs, red lights. That's it. I depend on you to stop at a red light. You depend on me to stop at a red light. I depend on you to not come into my house when I'm not here. Okay. And you can depend on me for the same. So we depend on each other not to violate each other's private space. And yes, if you witnessed an accident and you can help, then yeah, I'm going to try to help any way that I can. But y'all, that is the extent to which the dependency should run, is what I'm saying. This belief that everyone else is going to keep me alive is it's not only entitled, it's just foolish, because there's no guarantee of that. But it circles me back to the same question every time, which is, well, then what is the role of the government? Because to me, if they don't have any other role, that is the only role that they have, keeping your citizens alive. So if your low skilled workers are short on their paychecks because nobody's coming in, maybe you need some sort of program to support them during this time. Now, I know a lot of conservatives aren't in support of programs that they perceive to be giving people free money. But you have to ask yourself then, well, what is the other option then? You tell them get a job, but someone has to say yes. Remember this part? Someone actually has to say yes to the job that they applied for. So until then, what do? Until then, they're looking at you. They're being trained to look at you and say, spend your money with me. So this is why you see so many people prop up essentially pyramid schemes. And they're very aggressive and pushy about these pyramid schemes because the mindset that's driving them is essentially, because I did it, you have to participate in it. Because I built it, you better come. So the mindset used to be, if you build it, they will come. And now it seems like the mindset is, if I build it, you better come. And if I fail in my business endeavor, it's your fault. Not mine. It's your fault. And the hard reality is you simply can't force people to participate in whatever it is you got going on, be that Dunkin' Donuts, a dry cleaner, anything. That's why it's so important to try to be the best at what you do, because truly, truly, that is your only competitive advantage. So, where does that leave us at the end of this conversation? What is the middle ground? I don't know, guys, because it's really hard to say, because ultimately you can't force these people back in the office. You cannot force them to patronize your business. You cannot force them to keep what he calls low skill workers alive. But then when the low skill workers go off to do other things to better themselves and they can't find anyone to staff these stores, they get mad about that too. And they go on tirades and say that nobody wants to work. So, what is the middle ground? I don't know. I really, really don't know. I think the only solution is you have to sell yourself and you have to be the best at what you do, to where you don't have to be scammy or a scammer. You don't have to do pyramid schemes, and you don't have to go on press conferences begging people to come back into your store. You want people to be so irritating, you have to put them out. Like, you have to go. You have to go now. But you're begging people to come spend their money with you like a very, very pushy salesman almost. So maybe it's time for them to formulate a new plan. For example, these restaurants, and maybe this happened in New York. Any New Yorkers in the chat, let me know. But like, if I was a sit down restaurant prior to the pandemic, then the pandemic hit and everything was like shut down. Nobody could go anywhere. No one could do anything. As long as we were allowed to serve food, well, that would have been an awesome opportunity to go ahead and convert to some sort of pickup and delivery. And I think that did happen in a lot of restaurants. But imagine what happened to the restaurants that refused to do that, who probably should have had something like that going on anyway. But if they simply refused to convert to some sort of takeout and delivery, well, then they went under. So maybe it's time for us to rethink the way we approach business, because something like this could happen again. So are you prepared for the next downturn? Are you prepared for the next the next hiccup? Or are you going to sit around and say it's everyone else's fault that I'm dying? Like, at what point do you get up to save yourself is my question. So I think one thing that working for these different companies and corporations has taught me over the years is to never get too comfortable, never get too complacent. The reason I'm able to take long periods of time off in between jobs is because when I'm working a job, I understand this is more than likely temporary. Even if temporary is only a year, or excuse me, even if temporary is a year or two, my mindset is this probably won't last. So let me set aside a considerable amount of money, as much as I'm able to. So if this does go belly up, I can survive in between these jobs. And that mindset has really carried me through. Now, is it fun? No, it's not fun. It can be kind of scary sometimes. It can certainly take you to the limit sometimes. But it's also better knowing that I'm not sitting around really truly believing that my business, be that the local office in a high rise or Dunkin' Donuts, is going to be the one to take care of me. It's almost like everybody is looking to be taken care of by someone else, including the business owners, including the politicians. They are all looking to be taken care of by someone else. Everyone is. So if everyone is looking for someone else to take care of them, where it bottoms out, it neutralizes, is what I'm saying. It completely neutralizes to where we're both pulling on the rope with the same amount of force. So at some point, if we're both pulling on the rope with the same amount of force, we are now standing still. Chat says it's also the working conditions in New York City, the hours, the shifts, the amount of customers, etc., make any retail or service job real tough. Exactly. That too. And they don't want to change the things that really matter and that would really make a difference for people. And then wonder why the human being is finally starting to respond in a human way. I think for a long time, we were able to go along with this almost robotic type of working style. So when the pandemic first hit, most of you know, like I was very gung ho about the lockdowns. And the reason was because, though, here's the reason why. Not because I support tyranny, because I definitely don't. The reason was because for me, it represented a break in action. It was an opportunity for us to pause the hamster wheel and reconsider what we were doing, except for that just didn't happen. Like people didn't stop, they didn't reconsider, they didn't rethink. We were grateful for a very brief moment in time, but then we started to discover some other things that really changed the way we looked at all that stuff. But anyway, that's for a deeper PTE, and a deeper PTE is currently on lockdown. She got suspended. Anyway, I thought it would be an opportunity for us to break out of the matrix, and a lot of us did. Actually, a lot of people did break out of the matrix during this time frame, but not quite like how I thought. Like really, it's a pull to just get it back to the same dysfunction that we were accustomed to, not to actually make anything better or prepare for the next bump in the road. We just need to get it back to the same level of dysfunction that we're accustomed to, and we'll be happy again. So I don't know. Chat says the middle ground is real wages, commiserate with being able to pay rent. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know? And maybe that even means coming down on the rent for landlords who are operating businesses, Because I think I saw in the chat earlier, is it like $10,000 a month to rent a business space in New York? Is that what I read earlier in the chat? Oh, yes. A deeper PTE got suspended. Yep. I got in trouble. So I'm in timeout for 1 week, which is fine. It was destiny. It was destined to happen. So I'm in timeout for 1 week. So I'll probably be over here a lot in the coming days and on permission to exist while I wait out my sentence. I'm doing time, y'all. I got time. 1 week in the slammer. So anyway, I'm glad we did this show. I wanted to talk about this. Let me just give my closing takeaway thoughts and we'll get out of here. Essentially, the mayor of New York has placed the responsibility of bringing these small businesses back to life on the office workers. And it's like it's such a simplistic conclusion to come to, as if there aren't a multitude of other factors playing into the death of the economy in New York City and other places as well. It's a very short-sighted conclusion to say that simply because you're not coming in anymore is the reason that these businesses are dying, when in reality I just might be a self-sufficient person who wasn't coming in there anyway. Like, what if somebody decided to spend a year like as a minimalist? So for a year, they're only going to drink water, eat fruits and vegetables, and like a few canned goods, wear the same clothes that they just wash frequently. And they're just trimming out all excess expenses, just like that article from Dave Ramsey said, get rid of all your excess expenses. But what you're basically suggesting is that I don't have the option to do that. You are suggesting that I don't have the right to tell you no, basically, that I must spend my money with you, that me not spending my money with you is killing you. And that's how a lot of these salespeople act. Like when you tell salespeople no, they often act like you're literally taking money out of their children's mouths. But you have the right to say no. You have the right to withhold your business. And it's quite the assumption that just because I'm going into the office, I'm spending my money at all these places. And I'm sure a lot of them are. Like, I know a lot of people are eating lunch and going to Starbucks and doing all that. But I guess what else, though, you guys? I guarantee you a lot of them have enjoyed saving the money as well. And as a matter of fact, I did a show on PTE about a year or two ago. I just don't remember the title of it, where they were suggesting charging employees who work from home, essentially like taxing them basically for not coming in, saying that, oh, how did they phrase it in that article? They basically said, you not coming in is like giving you a raise, basically. So you're saving gas and you're, not spending your money at these local businesses. So therefore you're killing these local businesses. Therefore, we're going to tax you essentially. We're going to charge you a fine almost. And we're from that money from that fine, we're going to distribute that to all the local businesses that you're killing. And my whole thing is, but who told them to open? I don't get my shoes shined. So it's my fault the shoe shine guy is not doing okay? Like, life is a risk. Life is a risk. So why you would think for 1 second it's my fault that he's going under? Like, I'm not his mom or dad. And I think the next closest thing to your mom or dad would be the government. Unfortunately, as much as we hate big daddy government, who else would fulfill that role? So the question is, do we let people die or not? And if the answer is no, we don't let people die, well, then the next question becomes, well, then who takes care of them when they can't take care of themselves anymore? When their plan no longer works, who steps in to make sure that they don't die? You and I, the government? And if not the government, what are they here for? To fix the roads? So it's a very complicated conversation. I don't know if I've left you all with any answers, but hopefully I've left you with a lot to think about. And I actually remembered what I wanted to do, which was close the show with this slide. If I cook at home, bring my own food in, wash and iron my own clothes, and brew my own coffee, am I helping kill the economy? And another thought with this is that part of the implicit agreement of life on this earth? Like, do I have to participate? Is the question. Do all humans have to participate in this particular process? Or are we free to live life outside of this system? Meaning, like, you're not going to like steal, like, you're going to pay for the things that you want and need. You will work, you'll contribute in that way. But for example, and I'm asking this question with all sincerity and no offense to my marketing professionals listening, but if you're a marketing professional, are you really contributing to society? I'm asking. I'm honestly asking. And it's not just marketing, there's other industries, There's other jobs where it's kind of like, are you really contributing to society versus like a farmer? Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's so complicated and confusing. So you're making the assumption that everyone is contributing equally, I think is my point. And I, now I'm confusing myself. Now I've got myself all confused. So with that, I want you all to think on this. Definitely leave your thoughts in the chat and in the comment section down below. I hope I made sense. Essentially, I find it odd that the mayor of New York is placing this burden on the caretaking of a whole section of the population on a different set of the population. There's tons of assumptions that come with that, tons of false assumptions and false conclusions. It raises a lot of questions about what role the government actually has in a person's life, in a citizen's life, what role they should be taking. It raises the question about businesses and business ownership and how risky it is and what expectations you should really have. Really, the only expectation you should have as a business owner is that people will pay for your goods or services. That's it. That once you've attracted that customer, if you are charging a fee, that they'll pay it and honor that contract. That's really the only expectation you can have. But you can't expect them to just come in just because you're there. Like, you got to give them a reason. You know what I mean? So there's that. Then there's also the question of who is low skill? What makes low skill? Why would you assume all these people are low skill? There's that conversation. Then there's also the conversation of what responsibility does a human being have? Should a human being put all of their weight and hopes and dreams on their employer? Is that fair to the employer who opened up a business on a voluntary basis? And to me, when you circle around all these thoughts and when you weigh them and consider them, what you come up with is that it all neutralizes itself out. And if it neutralizes itself, what does that mean then? So this was kind of deep. I didn't expect it to go this deep, but economics is deep and entitlement is deep and narcissism runs deep as well. And what I'm trying to help prevent is a society where people literally just sit around basically thinking like, you better give me your money. You better give me your money. You better spend your money with me. You better do this. You better do that. And it's like, I don't have to better anything. Like, it's a choice. There's the final piece of that. There's choice in all of this. So why does he not think that these people have a choice to run their business as they see fit? If they want to go 100% remote, like, that's they have the right to do that. So I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. I can't wait to listen to the playback. So I'll probably think of different things that I wanted to say or different takes. So I definitely will do this talk again, especially if he keeps bringing it up. Like, if he keeps saying y'all need to go back to work, I'm surprised he hasn't said he's going to start finding those businesses that won't go back downtown. But then it's like, I never told you. Like, was that part of the agreement that I have to come down here and I have to set up shop and I have to be here forever? I'm not allowed to leave. I'm not allowed to change my business model and try something different that works better for me and my employees. It's almost like the total loss of individuality and the total loss of being able to make decisions for yourself that benefit you and keep you from going under. It's like, don't you want to keep your neighbor from going under? I'm like, well, sure, but are they going to keep me from going under? Like, do we need to just throw money in a big old pot? I feel like we just need to take all the money, throw it in a big pot, give everybody debit cards, and then as you need things, just pay for it out of the big pot. There's like, what other way is there? Like, everyone needs money. We all need money to survive. So just put it in a massive pot, send everyone a debit card, and then as you need different things, just pay for it on your debit card. Like, I feel like we've reached a singularity is what it feels like. So I don't know. I don't think this is going to motivate those companies to come in. I do not think that they will come in out of guilt for the quote unquote low skill workers. I think they'll do it like they do everything else. They'll make a business decision as to whether or not they're going to come back. And as far as the low skill workers, it's not that I don't have compassion, but my advice would be you cannot sit around waiting on these people to figure out what they're going to do. Like you got to now you have to pivot. And if pivoting means taking a different job in a different industry, different altogether, that might be what you have to do. Because if these people were the lifeblood of your industry and now they're gone, well, you can't just sit around and wait for them to tell you it's never going to come back. You got to start making some life decisions now before it's too late. So, lots of accountability, lots of responsibility to go around. I appreciate you all for being here over on Pettynomics. And I do have other topics I wanted to discuss with you guys, including one called a phenomenon called lying flat. And that's going on in Asia right now, in Asian countries, in particular, either China or Japan. I can't remember which one, but lying flat is essentially young people deciding that they're not participating in any of this. So I'll be working on that show for you. But let me know your thoughts on this episode once it uploads to YouTube. And I appreciate every single one of you for being here. And I'll be back on somewhere. I'll either be over here or on permission to exist this week until I'm off timeout on a deeper PTE. Until then, take care. And we will talk to each other again very soon. Bye.